Hey everybody, here we go again. Temperature is about 53 degrees. The humidity is 87% today. That's a big number. Where are we at? There's my new aluminum 3003 20 gauge, about 32nd of an inch thick. You know who you are that bought that for me. I deeply appreciate that donation once again. What we're doing today is I'm making the patterns to begin making the internal ceiling panels, which are big stamped, I assume they're aluminum or magnesium panels. Boom, boom, boom. There's 3 on that side. There's 2 up there, which I forgot to get the board for, but that's no biggie. I'll probably have to take the jet console off in order to build those, so we're good. Before I install these, of course, I'm gonna have to get up there with my grinder and my sander and finish that off, but I think we've got a wonderful curve up there. It transitions to a flat and then onto the fuselage. Of course, these aren't bowed or arched as much as they need to be, like the Canopy, but I've left enough space so I can, hopefully this won't fall down. I can push up on it. And taking that out of there, I can transition that to aluminum. It'll be the perfect piece. A few things about the Canopy that I really can't tell in all of my pictures. They're all high definition pictures, but I can't tell what's going on. There's 2 distinct versions of the Canopy. Of course, the early model B-36, the way it worked is clear, is these were all individual panels and they functioned just like the external glazing panels, in that they sat down in here and overlapped just enough, and then you put the piece of aluminum over it and you tighten it down, and then plop, that popped it down. I can't see these strips on the late model B-36s, so I'm going to assume that they used one big panel. That's out of my wheelhouse. That's big. I don't know if I could pull that off, because each one of these guys is as perfect as I got them to be. I'm gonna have to make a pattern of each one of these when I install each panel. I premeditated building this by doing just that, because that's the way that I understood the Canopy to work. I don't know, unless this thing was outside and I had a piece of aluminum to waste to get up there. That's still pretty much an unknown, but I'm probably gonna go with the late model, because I'm not Convair. I hate to say that. One difference in the aluminum that I'm going to be using up there is I'm going to be using an alloy rather than straight aluminum like I have been using, because I need it to keep its shape. And if something hits it, I want it to bounce off, whereas the 3003 kind of puts little dings in it. I mean, it's very soft aluminum. I think the alloy will work with the English wheel that I've got coming. So I'll be able to make that top as well as all the surrounding areas. So there's that. In addition to the 3 sides, there's also a little guy that lives up there on either side, plus big ones up here. The reason I didn't make a pattern for those is because those are pretty accessible. I can just get up there and do those when I need to. These sides are going to be the fun ones. Once again, each one of these guys is going to have 4 areas that are pressed to give it that strength. So I don't think I'm going to be able to make a die set out of wood or a form that'll allow me to make them all in one, fell swoop. So what I think I'm going to do is first I'm going to cut this big thing out of aluminum, and then I'm going to make a form to do the edges with because they're rounded. They're nice and rounded on the corners. And doing that in one big piece, I think is going to be too difficult. So I'm going to do the rounded things, do like the thing that goes all the way around, and just leave a lip on the top of it to rivet the big square piece, which will have the 4 areas that are pressed. Another thing, if you've never worked around presses before, which has been a long time for me, but I remember, there's a lot to it more than just, oh, I'm going to put this in a press and make it. You have to consider that you're stretching metal over here and around the sides. And when I make these, they'll be inboard. It'll also stretch that. So it's going to throw that off there. I don't know by how much, but I don't want to play around with that. And I think it's just going to be a much less stressful process just to make the 1, 2, 3, 4, rivet them up there. And not long after I do that, these are going to be covered in what are probably most likely going to be fiberglass panels up here. I got this done yesterday. That's identical to the way it looks. Another difference that I found between the H model and the J model is the H model, I guess it's more simple to say the J model, as I mentioned in earlier videos, it had a big thing that lived right there. Went down about that far, and there's a loudspeaker in it. There's a switch, and I think a transformer for the loudspeaker. That was only found on the J model. The H model, it fared over kind of like this on this side. So I'm gonna have to continue that there. And this is accurate. So there's that. Pretty sure I pointed out my, I don't know if I did it on the B-36 interest group on Facebook, or I pointed it out in a video, but if you can see it, I've got this 3/4 inch aluminum strip that runs all the way up. It'll run to right there. And then every 3 1/4 inches, I've got one of these 3/8 inch snaps for the night flying curtain. And those snaps continue on that lateral frame as well. There was a big curtain that hung up there. So when they were flying at night, the reflection from all these brilliantly lit gauges and flood lamps and whatnot would not reflect off of the glazing, therefore blinding your pilot. And I believe it worked 2 ways. Their gauges that also had all the brilliantly lit eyebrows on them would not blind these guys. And then in the J model, you actually had that curtain that went around the Astrodome, so he couldn't be blinded. I don't think the H model had it. I've yet to find any evidence that it did, and if I don't have any evidence of it, I ain't building it. Interestingly, the early model B-36s, A through F, they had cloth that was up there, and I don't know if they had a form and it was glued to it. I have no idea. And it was snapped all the way around and in various places. And I think maybe early H's had that. It's suggested in the Dash 1 flight manuals, but once again, I don't have any photographic evidence that dictates that that was actually done that way. So I'll be doing mine the way that the earliest pictures I have of the inside of the H model came from the Tornado. So they had the fiberglass roof. Mine will have the fiberglass roof or ceiling panels. I picked up one C13 True Air thermometer that's going to mount right there inside of an inboard area. One goes right there. One goes right there for the pilot. That's interesting. I'll have to take that into consideration when oddly enough, two things came into my brain at the exact same time. Over here, there's nothing. So you can have your 4, and the picture I have is looking from down there up, shows this, and just a fair little bit of that, or a hair little, but it doesn't show that right there. But what does live right there is that inboard area. It's about 1.5 inches to 2 inches where the mechanism for the clipboard that folds down. So I'll have to take that into consideration when I do my pressing. I'm going to assume that the pressing can't be, about 1 inch deep because it's flush with this. So we'll figure it out. This one might be different. I learned something new about this thing every day. Sometimes the learning hurts, sometimes it doesn't. But that's where we're at. And hopefully the next time I shoot a video, we'll have some nice aluminum panels up there, or I'll be upset and we may have just one up there. I'll see y'all next time.